General properties. Now, gradient, text, image, video, and page all have unique properties. So we're going to go ahead and look at general properties. So we're going to click on gradient. Here you see the unique properties. Down here you're going to see general properties. So we open that up, general properties, and there are 7 things here that we can take a look at. So I've selected a gradient as just something kind of simple and big that I can show you. Now your X and Y are simply the position within the add. Now again, the add is the white space, and the width and the height are here given. These numbers show how big this is. I can show you the width. Say if I wanted to drop the width a bit, I would do that, and that changes on the fly. Just punch that back up to 500. So your X and Y, that's the position of the gradient within the add space. Now your X scale, if you wanted to make this twice as small or half as big, take your pick. You're simply going to go from 100 on your X scale to 50, and then on your Y scale you're going to go 100 down to 50. So you've just made that half as big or twice as small. Again, take your pick. So let's bump this back up to 100. That's if you want to just make sure that you proportionally scale an object correctly, instead of having to drag and drop and saying, oh, I think it's about half as small, or now I think it's about twice as big. Anyway, scale, extremely important. Opacity, simply it's transparency. Either you can't see it as you move it up, now you can see it. That's your opacity. Your rotation, if you notice, this upper left corner here, everything pivots on that upper left corner, whether it's a gradient, an image, text, whatever. And then lastly, need to show you what's called your z-index. We're actually going to probably change this z-index to layer. These are our layers. So layer 0 is closest to the white. Now, if I select off of my gradient, I select back onto the add. I select text now. Text is independent of the gradient. If I were to have been within the gradient and then I selected text, now I have a text here that is the gradient is now the parent of the text. So when I move the gradient, you see that this text, it's kind of hard to see here, but when I move this gradient, the text moves as well. So I'm going to go ahead and kick out of there. So if I do not want another object embedded inside an object, I have to click off of it, and then so I click off of my gradient, it's not selected, then I add a text. Now those two items are independent of each other. The text is not a child of the parent, if that makes sense. If you need more explanation, give us a call, talk to us, we can be contacted. But it's extremely important to understand this concept. Okay, so back to general properties. We've talked about X, Y, our position, our scaling, our opacity, our rotation. Now, the z-index. Again, the z-index, or the layer 0, is, so we have 0 and 1. I'm going to leave the gradient at 0. Again, that's closest to the white. Now, if I go over and click on my text, go here into general properties, and then add that defaults to 1, that means it will go over the gradient. So white is like a no layer. 0 is, we call it layer 0, but it's essentially the first layer. And then the second layer, or what we call layer 1, is where the text is. Now, watch this. If I have the text selected, I go in, I move it to 0, you'll see it disappear. I click that, it's now disappeared because if you go back to your gradient and you go into your general properties, you'll see now that the gradient has become 1. You click on the text and the general properties now becomes 0. So it's like Photoshop layers. Again, layer 0 is closest to the white. Layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. It's almost like 1, 2, 3, 4, like they're being built out towards you as the user. So those are your general properties.